everybody, welcome back to Cottoverdi. My name's Annette and today I thought I'd do another sort of little mini rose tour and show you other roses that are now in bloom in the garden. There is another rose tour that I did earlier on in the month that's available on my channel. In fact, I'll put a link in the description below in case you want to catch that too after you've watched this video. So today we're starting on the bottom bed here and I'm going to show you the roses that are in bloom and then just take you a tour of the garden. I may even include the front garden too because it's looking spectacular, and I just really want to capture the beauty of the roses in June before they get to the end of their first flush, because the second flush is just never quite as good. I just feel like June is rose month and I've got so many roses that are doing really well this year. I don't know what it is, maybe it's the weather or something like that. We had a really rainy start to the season which has caused black spot in my garden. I don't tend to use any chemicals on that, but I've got a little bit of propping up to do today as well that I'll include in part of the video, and I'm probably going to do some deadheading, but let me show you the roses and everything else that's looking fantastic at the moment. What I'm also going to do is talk about the roses and the coloration of the roses and the size of the roses, because all roses are different and I just really want to share with everybody what I like about the particular roses that I've got in the garden. So I am going to include some information about that and I'll put the names up on the screen, and if I've got the sizes that they grow to when they're full size, I'll include that as well. So starting with the bottom bed here, this is the area where we've got some fruit trees. So I've got 2 apple trees and a plum tree. So this is a cercis or a red bud, and because it's got these gorgeous, or supposed to have these gorgeous multicolored leaves with a bit of pink, a touch of pink, I've created this area here to sort of complement that. So we've got some white achillea at the front, we've got this gorgeous rose called Souvenir. Let me take you on a close-up. So this is one of my least floriferous roses, but the size of the rose blooms are absolutely incredible. Look at this gorgeous creamy white outer with the pink inner petals. I think it's an absolute stunner. It's so full, it just feels a little bit like an ice cream. It's on really strong, sturdy stems, lovely deep green leaves. And this rose is, I think it's in its 2nd or 3rd year. So there are 3 roses out at the moment, but I've got a lot more buds coming, which is very exciting. And I do think that the Achillea the Pearl, which is just a really sort of beautiful button-shaped achillea, looks really cute with it. I just really like the white, it's complementing it nicely. So around this rose, I've also planted, I've got some snapdragons here, some dahlias. There was a peony that I had here called Kansas, that's gone over. I've got some gorgeous gladioli. So there's another sort of pink and white gladioli over there, and I've also got some gorgeous nicotiana or nicotiana. I know everyone says it very differently. This one is called Crimson Bedder. It will get much taller than that, but it's just coming into flower, which is super exciting. So as we move along in front of the red butt, I've got some gypsophila that's just about to come into bloom. These dark leaf plants here are dahlias called Wishes and Dreams, which will be stunning. I've got a little Veronica over here in the corner that's called Erica, and it's newly planted this year and is not particularly floriferous, but I have, you know, high hopes that it's going to complement this rose beautifully. So it's got just a couple of spikes of pink at the moment. There's a viola left over from the winter just over here, and the last of my ranunculus just going over. So I don't know what's going on with this red bud. I have a feeling that it's very sick and it's not doing well. So it's sort of started to leaf out, and these leaves, you know, they're still alive. They're just not getting any bigger. It's really weird. I've got a lot of dead stems, which I could probably prune off, to be honest with you. But this tree is not growing at all. It's not happy, and I have a feeling we're going to have to replace it, which is such a shame because almost everything I've planted around here is based on this tree. So as we move along to these new gorgeous obelisks, I haven't planted the roses yet. I really need to get them in. This dahlia that's just popping out there is called Sasha, and then right behind it, we'll go around the other side in a minute, but that is Rosendale Natasha, and that was one of the first ones to flower in the garden. And then we come across to this gorgeous rose here. Festive Jewel is one of the first roses to flower in my garden. I'm just going to do a quick bit of deadheading whilst we're out here. If we keep deadheading the roses, they just flower for so much longer. And I find it quite a satisfying job, to be honest with you. But once I've deadheaded it, then I can prop it up and it won't be lying all over my dahlias. You've probably seen me using these stakes before, but I find these stakes really handy. I'm not sure why this whole stem is falling over. So Festive Jewel is in its second year for me. We didn't have very many roses last year at all, but the buds start off pink, about the size of my thumb, with little white edges, and then as they mature they've got like this peachy tinge, which is just so attractive. Really pretty, and they open out really nicely, which is good for the pollinators, but it means that we end up with you know, pink and peach on the same rose, and so it's just really colourful. I'm not surprised it's called Festive Jewel. So this penstemon at the front here is called Arabesque Apple Blossom, and I've got the same one in front of my rose Harlow car outside the kitchen, and it's just so pretty because it's mostly white with tiny hints of pink on it, and so it complements everything really nicely. You can just see a really red patch of Clarkia at the back there. Just ignore all the plastic in the background. So if we cover that up, it looks so much better. So as we swing round, we've got Souvenir over here. This is the dying red bud, and then this is Festive Jewel with the gorgeous creamy white penstemon. And as we keep moving round, I've got some more of the Crimson Beda Nicotiana, and then look at that spark of orange. This is sort of coming to the warmer end of my border, so there's a lot more corals and oranges up this end. So that rose over there is called Rosemary Harkness, and just behind it is a rose called Susan Daniel. Let me take you over there round that side so we can have a look at those. But I just want to point out, just where Cosmo is, there's a snapdragon, and it's called Double Shot Peach. And obviously, I mean, I planted it there for a reason, but look how beautifully they complement each other. So this is Rosemary Harkness. Now, a lot of the roses are facing this way because this is the sunny side of the border. But look at the colour on that. I don't even think that my camera is capturing the colour on that. But it's just this fabulously lovely bright orange. Now obviously the flowers are brighter when they first start out with like little yellow centres, and then they fade to this sort of more creamy colour that we've got. The sun's just come out so it's hard to see, but there's a more creamy colour as they get older. I would describe this as a very much more apricot than it is peach. So again, these blooms are quite large, not quite as big as Souvenir, but they are so pretty. Look at that incredible yellow centre. And this is a super healthy plant. So this is definitely one of the least affected by black spot. And then just where Cosmo's going, this is Susan Daniel. This is definitely a more pale apricot than Rosemary Harkness. It's in the same colour tones, but just, you know, there's a lot lighter looking. So if you're not really into deep apricot, then this might be the rose to go for. It's very much the same size. The leaves are very similar. It's got a very similar habit. There's touches of pink inside the buds. So what I really like is the colour of the Susan Daniel against the darker foliage behind it. I think it sets it off really nicely. I also have, and I can't remember the name of this plant, I'm going to have to look it up and put it on the screen, but I also have a shrub over here with these really pretty, very corally orange blooms on them. I really wish I could remember the name of this plant. So I've just come to the other side of the bed now. So over here we have, this is the souvenir rose, the dying redbud. Rosendale Natasha, the dahlia flower that's out. You can see there's a lot of bare ground. I still need to plant the climbing rose at the bottom of the obelisks. This is Festive Jewel. So this is the arabesque apple blossom penstemon. And then as we move along, we can see that I've got some darker foliage plants here. I bought these at a plant fair and they're not well labelled, so I struggle to remember the names. This is Raspberry Harkness. This is Susan Daniel. And then you can just catch a glimpse of the Physocarpus at the back here. So I've got some Artemisia. This is the Eleagnus Quicksilver, which I absolutely adore. And this is Kinsley's Ghost Honeysuckle. And then what's really hard to capture on camera is that, you know, next to the oranges and the darker foliage, I've also got some self-seeded Verbena bonariensis. Now this is taller than me. It's at least 6 foot tall. And I think it's absolutely fabulous. But the purples and the peaches and oranges, I think they look so cute. This is the plant I can't remember the name of. I've got some really sweet peas here. So these sweet peas are called Alyssa, and I did also plant it with a sweet pea called Chloranthus, but it has not survived the slug attacks. But Alyssa's doing really well. And look how cute that colour looks with the Artemisia in the background. So this is the Darts Cold Physocarpus. At the front here we've got a lovely rose that's just coming into bud, definitely the last to flower in my garden. This one's called Julia's Rose. I can't show you what it's going to look like, unfortunately. There are more snaps and dahlias planted in here, but this rose here is called Sweet Honey, and it's very much along the lines of Rosemary Harkness and Susan Daniel. Let me show you this rose close up. There's also some lovely purple agrostemma grown from seed. It's just coming into flower. This is a verbascum at the back. That's been flowering for absolutely ages. And some more Nicotiana crimson bedder. So this rose here is Sweet Honey, and it needs a little bit of deadheading, so I'll just do that. But Sweet Honey has got, well, it starts off this colour, so very much apricot-y, very dark apricot buds, turns to apricot roses, and then the roses become paler and paler with pink undersides, and then when they finish, they kind of finish this creamy colour with pink dots around the edges. It's ever so sweet, and so there's just a lot of variation on this rose, which I really like. Now you can see this rose is quite young. There are some more buds coming, but I wasn't expecting a lot of flowers this year, and actually it's flowered really well. I think we only planted it at the very end of last year, so I'm really super happy with it. And then just behind it I've got a cosmos, which is just starting to flower. It's still a little bit short, but it will grow. This one is called Xenia. And then at the front here, I mean, obviously in years to come this will work a lot better because this rose will get a lot taller. But at the front here I've got a lovely purple Physostegia, obedient plant. This one's called Rose Bouquet. So I'm going to have sort of oranges and pinks and purples, and then I've got even more sweet peas. So I'm right down at the other end of the bed now, you may have guessed. So we started off all the way down there, kind of worked halfway, then went round the other side. It's a bit muddled, but we're round here next to the sweet peas. Now it is really important to pick the sweet peas whenever they're growing, because that way you get more flowers. It's the only way to encourage your sweet peas to keep flowering and keep blooming through the season is water them, feed them and pick them. So I do need to pick them, but I really wanted them to look pretty today for this filming, so that you could see what they look like growing up the obelisk, because obviously when I pick every single bloom it just doesn't look the same. So I'm spoiling myself a little bit by keeping quite so many of them on the obelisk. Let's take a look at what I'm growing by way of sweet peas. They do also need to be tied in a little bit. So I think this is Rosy Frills. This is Spring Sunshine Champagne, so it's got more sort of on the warmer shade of pink with a lot of the sort of cream as it starts, and then it's easier to see over on this bed here, because I think Patricia Marilyn is the only one that has grown on this obelisk, or is the only one that's in flower at the moment, is Patricia Marilyn. Right, let's get back to roses. So as we come along here, this is what we call the log store end of this border, because of the untidy log store in the background, so ignore that. This is Sweet Honey just here, and then all the verbascum in the front, which is gorgeous. And I've got some Misty Lavender Larkspur. I really like to complement peachy colours with mauvey colours. Here I've got 2 Coco Loco roses, which I absolutely love. I'm supposed to have 3, but one didn't make it. We had moved it too many times. These were one of the first roses to bloom in my garden, and I absolutely adore them, just because I find the colour is unusual and different, and it does start off sort of coffee coloured or cappuccino coloured, and then turns into this lovely dusty mauve colour, which I really, really like. Just going to do a bit of deadheading here whilst we're at it. This is my leaning over Misty Lavender Larkspur. So it's very cute, it's just all leaning over a bit too much. And then as we move along from the Coco Locos, I've got one more rose over here. And this one is Spicy Parfuma. And I think this one looks so pretty with the coloration of the Elaeagnus in the background. Let me just deadhead that. Unfortunately, we've just missed these particular flowers here. But we've got one, and I've got loads more buds to come. So Spicy Parfuma is again one of these really soft, gentle pinks. You can tell the colours that I like with my roses, but just look how pretty that is. And these are really nice, big, chunky roses as well. Oh my goodness, it smells good. And just behind it, it's hard to see, but I do have a Snapdragon from last year. I think that one is bridal pink, so that's going to look really cute in about a week's time when it starts to flower with Spicy Parfuma. So just over here around the other side of the Elaeagnus, it's very easy to see that I keep with my colour schemes most years. I mean, that's because the perennials are always going to be the same colour. But look at this gorgeous Snapdragon. This is called Apple Blossom, and this has come back again from last year. And that just always makes me really happy when Snapdragons make it through the winter. So I could include a tour of this gorgeous border behind me. This is the grass border that we planted up this year, and it does look wonderful. But I wanted to focus on the roses today before they go over. So I'm going to kind of skip it, include a few of the roses that are in there. There aren't many. And then I'm going to finish up with some roses that I included in a previous video, but I want to make sure that this sort of includes all the roses that are blooming now. And there are some roses that are blooming now that weren't looking so fabulous a few weeks ago. So I'm going to carry on with the rose tour and just skim over this grass border, and then what I'll do is I'll do a video in a week or so's time discussing the grass border and how it's coming along. So on the sunny side of the grass border, I do have 3 roses. This one on the end here is called Tranquility, and I've got one called Lady Salisbury, and then this is Litchfield Angel. So Tranquility is supposed to be the most perfect creamy white colour, or whitey cream colour, but actually mine has definitely got touches of pink in it, which is lovely. I don't mind that at all. This rose here that I'm about to deadhead has flowered already, and what I'll do is I'll put up on the screen a picture. If I've got video footage of how it looked when it was in flower, I'll put that up now, because actually at the moment there aren't any flowers. It just really badly needs deadheading. In fact, I would say that this rose is my least healthy rose in the entire garden and may well need to be replaced. And if I'm being completely 100% honest with you all, it's not my favourite rose. So I don't even think that the roses themselves are that spectacular. Now, this rose here has got to be the most annoying rose in the whole wide world, because it's just leaning over the wrong way. Why is it all facing that way, and why are they flopping so much? This is really annoying. So this is Litchfield Angel. It is glorious, glamorous, beautiful white rose. I almost feel like we have to get into the flower bed to see what it really looks like. And even then, I'm not convinced we're going to get a good look. Why are my roses drooping like that? I don't understand what's going on. Like, I don't get that. It's not supposed to do that. This rose is really annoying. Has anybody got any idea why my rose is doing this? I just don't get it. It's so pretty. Why droop? Don't droop on me. Stand up straight. Be proud. I don't get it. I'm going to give it another year. Okay, so if we swing all the way around, these roses here are gorgeous. They're called Chandos Beauty. So these, again, start off very peachy and then fade to a more creamy white colour. So I'm just going to deadhead this one here. Look at these roses. They're huge. The size of my hand. This is a more pinky coloured peach than the other roses we were looking at in the hotter border. And, you know, they do fade to a more creamy white as they go over. I mean, look at the size of this one. Look at the size of that. It's enormous. So you can see that I really like to, you know, hold a bit of purple up against the peachy orange colours. So I'm going to have some dahlias here very, very soon. And I've got some snaps left over from last year, just here. Let me take you around there. So I think this lovely ivory snap goes really well with these roses. And then swinging round again. So underneath this new pergola, we have some more roses. So this rose here is called Felicia, and it needs deadheading. This was newly planted this year, so I'm really pleased that I'm getting some decent flowers out of it, because I wasn't convinced that I would. So I've been deadheading it regularly just to encourage more blooms, and I can see loads more buds forming, which is nice. These are really small flowers, and I knew this, and it's also a less sort of formal looking plant. It's more untidy. So this is what Felicia looks like. I think it's really sweet. Peachy apricot tones again. So this is where Felicia is, in this space here, and this is Woollerton Old Hall, which I am training up this pergola. So Woollerton Old Hall is just so pretty, more on the sort of yellowy lines. Not huge blooms yet, but again, we only planted this year. But oh my goodness, look at that. So it starts off with yellow buds and fades to cream. And they're really full, very soft and gentle. Look at those yellow buds. Then just on this side of the pergola, this is another climber here. This one is called Penny Lane. And these are the only two blooms I have so far. It's not growing very fast, but I don't mind that. It's probably just, you know, growing some roots. And then right behind it is one of my brightest roses. This is called Robin Hood. And it's one of these roses that's got absolutely loads of flowers on the end of each stem. But it's a really lovely bright spark. So then as we move down here, this is the border that I have all of my Queen of Sweden roses. I've got 6 Queen of Sweden roses, and they looked fabulous last time I filmed here. This one here is still flowering and looking super cute. So directly opposite, I've got another gorgeous rose. This one is called Cream Abundance, and this one's been flowering for absolutely ages too. The Cream Abundance has sort of, I'd say, medium-sized blooms, and they very definitely are creamy in the middle, and then they fade to this gorgeous, fluffy, very buttery pale cream colour. If you've been following along with my garden vlogs, then you will have seen me strap this rose up. This is called Pride and Prejudice. I think it is the perfect name for this rose because I've never seen a rose more Jane Austen-like in my entire life. Look at the old worldy charm of this rose. Every single bloom is out of this world. It's just like a painting. Pride and Prejudice, highly recommend. I'm in love with this rose. This is Jacques Cartier. I feel like I've shown this really recently, but I'm just going to deadhead whilst I'm here and going on the rose tour so I can see some more are coming out. It's just so pretty. It's got a really tight knot in the centre. We are now coming on to my pièce de résistance, which is this rose over here called Eustacia Vi. Let me take you around the other side, because Eustacia Vi is outdoing herself this year. I couldn't be more in love with this rose. I love the combination of the colours. Dusty pink, dusty apricot, and it is blooming its socks off. I do have 3 roses here in this space. I just don't even feel like the filming footage is going to do it justice. You probably want to know how big the blooms are. I'd say just slightly larger than medium. So almost on the size of large, but not quite. So these are not small blooms. They're huge and they are making me so happy. I feel like this colour combination is absolutely stunning with the Eustacia Vi. You're probably wondering which salvia I've got planted amongst the Eustacia Vi. This is called Cool Cream, and I just really love the white with the pops of deep purple. On this climbing arch I've got Boscobel over here, Claire Austin on this end, and the Generous Gardener on this end, and they have been blooming for weeks. I also have some of my first dahlias. So I've got Senior's Hope over here, and Wizard of Oz here, and obviously a larkspur there. So this is the Generous Gardener. And then this is Claire Austin. So Claire Austin is definitely flowering later than the Generous Gardener for me, but it's just as pretty. Very, very full blooms, not huge, on the small to medium size, I would say. And then I think Boscobel is also a stunner. Really, really rich colour. So Boscobel is a medium-sized rose. Deeper pink than a lot of my other choices. And then over here, on what we like to call the top bed, this rose is called Comte de Chambord. So I think Comte de Chambord is pink, almost Barbie pink. And again, some lovely, tightly packed, medium-sized blooms. And they pretty much keep their colour. They don't change too much. I mean, they fade a little bit as they get very old. So we're over on the patio beds now, and I want to give a shout out to this gorgeous rose, which is called Cheshire Rose. And it's a beautiful pastel pink colour with a lot of cream in it. But it has these wonderful clusters, I mean, all the way along the whole length of the stem. Clusters and clusters of roses. It really is a fantastic ground cover rose. Let me show you another one that I've got along here. It's mixed in with some wonderful self-seeded blue nigella. How fantastic is that? Really sets it off nicely. What a wonderful contrast. And then last but not least is this amazing rose here called Harlow Car. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I love this rose for the scent and the number of blooms and for how long it flowers for. It really needs deadheading, but I'm not doing that on film today because it would take too long. But right in front of it, first of all, this is Schizanthus that I grew from seed. I am never not growing that again. It is always going to be part of my repertoire. It's been flowering and blooming for over a month, and hopefully it's going to keep going. But also, I've got a dahlia, heart and arse. So this is Harlow Car. You can see there's quite a lot of deadheading to do, and I will do that. I always deadhead because then your roses just keep blooming. So again, this is Harlow Car with the penstemon called Arabesque Apple Blossom. And I don't know, I really like these colours together. I think it's really cute. There's one more little rose I want to talk about today, and that is this rose here called Cutie Pie. And it really is very cute. It's a lovely little patio pot rose. And again, this one will bloom for weeks. It's filled out really nicely this year. I'm really pleased with it. This is James Galway at the front of the house. And the blooms start off this darker pink and then fade to a gorgeous dusty pink. I did show these recently in a video. This is a rose called Little White Pet, and it's sort of a ground cover rose really. It's got very small, almost the same size as my Cheshire rose. So it's got very small, very heavily blossomed tips to look how many flowers there are on the end of that stem. So there's like a touch of peachy pink in it, but they are mostly white. So this is my Madame Alfred Carrier that's only flowering at the very top. It's on a shady wall. It's pretty much north facing. It gets very little sun, and it's quite leggy, but I do have some blooms this year, so it seems to have recovered from its earlier sulk. This is Sceptred Isle, which is another David Austin. It's got very uniform coloured, perfectly pale pink, very pastel pink roses, and they're just this lovely cupped shape. They are quite small, like compared to my hand. They aren't huge, but they just have this really lovely rounded cup shape, and they're very full. And I think they look really nice with the blue in the background from that conifer. But that's about it for today. I've tried to position myself so I've got Eustacia Vi in the background here. I've got Pride and Prejudice over here. These roses are just bringing me so much joy at the moment. I don't know if that came across in this vlog, but I'm enjoying them so much this year. And I don't know whether that's because they're slightly more mature plants now, and so I'm getting even more blooms, but I'm loving all the roses, but these in particular, I'm like, wow, you're incredible. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, do give it a like. It really does help me. And if you'd like to see more tours like this, I'll be starting my Dahlia tours soon. So if you don't want to miss those, then subscribe to my channel, follow along. I want to say thank you to everybody. A big shout out to all my regular followers and anyone who subscribed, because I hit 10,000 subscribers the other day, which was incredible. And YouTube sent me a little email to congratulate me. But to think that 10,000 people or more now are interested in following along with my garden and my journey and putting up with me. Anyway, thank you so much for subscribing. It really does, it means the world to me, and I just love sharing my garden. I love chatting with everyone in the comments. Anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time.